What's going on, friends? Welcome to Wednesday afternoon. Alain Picard here, and I'm really excited to be here in the studio with you. We're coming here live to do a 30-minute or less painting demonstration as well as a live Q&A. No secret, the enrollment is open for my Painterly Landscape course, and so if you have any questions, right at the end of the painting demonstration, I'm going to answer them. And so hold on to those. I'm excited you're here. And let me check and see who's here. Got a couple of friends, James and Sergey. What's going on, people? It's awesome to see you. So we're going to do a little painting. We're going to do a 6 by 8 inch landscape, which is going to be lots of fun. I love to do these small size paintings. It's a great way to just stimulate those loose, bold paintings in pastel. That's what this is all about. And so I don't usually paint winter landscapes very often, but recently I was with my wife. We happened to be picking my son up from school, and it was just the most beautiful afternoon. One of those winter days where the sun is setting early in the afternoon, and we captured this gorgeous moment. So I thought it'd be really fun to interpret it and explore it. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna jump right in to this painting demonstration. And what I've done, as you can see, is I've already done a thumbnail sketch. I'm really looking to be tonalist, to be very suggestive, to not look for all those little details in this one. Really just doing a really fun color study. So I've got a thumbnail done, which sets a great design sense and also helps me understand the values. So I've got that. And then I've got my 6 by 8 inch sanded board, which is a UArt 400 grit in this case. And I've chosen to tone it with a really nice rich violet. I'm kind of really thinking a lot about violet and gold in this color palette. That's what I'm going to experiment with. So that's what we've got on the easel today. And we're going to get right into it. The other thing that I've done, I just picked out a few pastels in that violet to gold and peachy kind of sunset experience. So off we go. Are you ready to do this painting? I hope so. I'm ready. I'm excited. Okay, first thing we'll do is I just have a new pastel, and I'm just gonna come in here and sketch in those basic shapes, just those basic shapes. I don't need a ton of information. As I do this, just gonna squint it down and see something very simple. I'm actually looking at my sketch. That's where that sunburst is gonna be. I'm looking at my sketch to lay this in because it's simpler and more suggestive than the reference material. And you know, those details, they have a way of sucking you in. Oof. So we don't want to do that yet. We want to keep this really fun and loose. So I got this passage of dark values moving through that mid-zone. And this nice tree at the left to anchor the composition, as well as to set a contrast with the sunburst, which is going to come in here. And then there's some things happening up in the sky, but it's all closer in value. So I don't necessarily need to sketch it all in. What I really want to know is, where is that tree? Where's that sunburst? How does that interact? And there's some very cool, like progressing shadows, because it's a backlit scene, that are moving in linear perspective. So we'll capture a little bit of that, probably, but most of all, just some really bold strokes. Okay, so really that's all I want to do for the sketch. I just want to get a feel, know where they go. I really want to mass in these marks with nice bold strokes. And I like to get in on the darks first, then the middles, then the lights. So here we go. I am not messing around today, my friends. We're going right to a dark violet. And this is bold. This is a pretty strong flavor here. Obviously, the underpainting is already a strong mid-tone. So I want to put these soft pastel marks in and just kind of knock them in and be bold about it. Don't fuss about. Maybe I'll put a little tree trunk in. Maybe I'll just suggest the dark value mass. The most important thing I'm trying to do right here is suggest that value mass. Really get that tone in place, okay? So we're working our way across here, and I've got another nice anchor visually with a dark pine over on the right side. So I'm going to work at just establishing that dark pine a little. Just strengthen up that edge of the grass. And I kind of feel like I want to loosen up and break edges as I do this one. I'm inspired by the tonalist movement as I create this scene, where we're really going to let mood and atmosphere prevail and detailed information will be subdued. Okay, so I've got that dark in. It's not black, but it's a nice dark value. And sometimes, I'll show you, sometimes I use these insulation, pipe insulation, just to kind of create a fuzzy version of it. So in this case, with this very suggestive feel, that can be a really fun way to just push that value around. Obviously, underpainting, which I had a tonal underpainting on this piece, is another way to be suggestive, but look how I can get that, like, I don't like all these little bare tree limbs to be the first thing you look at, so I just want to get a tonal suggestion first. So doing this, it helps. I offer you that little technique suggestion as a way of keeping things loose and free. Just push it around with pipe insulation. The whole purpose there is that this sanded board would tear up your, paper towels. Okay, so I also knocked back that value. I want to grab that tone one more time now that I have this wonderful soupy quality, and just add some structure, add some density to that dark value mask one more time. So I'm already getting in the mood. Wait till we put a warm color and a lighter value in here. That ought to be fun. So maybe we'll suggest a limb now that we've got some value. I find that if the first thing you draw is those barren tree limbs, it gets very labored looking very quickly. But if you can get a suggestion of a value transition, that's a big win. It's a very nice painterly look. Okay, great. We're getting there. Just quickly clean my fingers, take a look, and here we go. I'm going to keep this thing moving. So let's jump in with a lighter value and just move towards that pink family. Move a little bit warmer towards red as we lighten it up, and maybe get some sense of the sky. And already it's just this, I want to back into, I'm going a little less light in value, stay a little bit middle light first before I go all the way there. And we're just going to try to create these negative shapes around the scene as a way of framing our value mask with a nice negative shape. And this is all going to get really nice and warm, which is exciting. Push that in, come over here and start to, I'm painting like this right now. You know, I don't want to see too much. I want to see just a little bit. So I'm painting with my eyes really squinted, just so I get a sense of that simple version of what I'm working on, okay? Now I'll open that up. Again, I want to push this whole color into the kind of violet to yellow family. So over here on the snow, maybe a little bit of that violet, lavender, dancing across it first before we go into anything warm. That's good. I'm going to just change into a different version that's just a bit pinker maybe. This is primarily just for variation. Okay, friends, this is where it's at. We're going to jump in on the gold. We're going to give ourselves that violet gold color complement. So I think I will grab something with a bit of yellow in it. Nope, that's too light. My paper towels, keep it clean. This is a bit more of an ochre. And just jump in. Let's establish the location of this wonderful sun. And I'm suggesting it, right? I'm massing it in as a value shape. I'm not trying to draw every little thing. We want to really suggest what's happening here. And even into that tree, a little bit quieter, a little less intensity, but we want that yellow, that golden cast of the sun to push through. That looks good. I'm actually looking for something a little more neutral here as I move away. We pump in with a little bit of this. It's sort of an ochre now at this point, what I've discovered. And this is a little painting, and I've got some soft pastel chips in my hand. So I'm trying to punch in with some marks. And it's okay if they're not perfect. We can sculpt them and push and pull them. I'm just going to move that light, just kind of move that light through the scene a bit. There's some clouds catching the glow of the sunlight rays. So I'll use that to my advantage. And again, I'm going to grab a little bit of this pipe insulation and kind of push this around just a little bit before I hit it again. And my thinking here is just that I want that wonderful tonal haze. I really want to see that haze on this afternoon, winter day. So an oil painter would just diffuse with the brush. Now, of course, there are times where we do not want to blend, but in this case, I'm trying to capture that diffusion. And I'm going to put some fresh marks right back on top. So let's get, for instance, into this lower area of the snow. Where did I drop that? Wonderful. Oh, there it is. That golden ochre that I just used. Yes, I need some of that golden ochre to find its way onto the snow below the sun. And I'm going to peach it up right around the source of the light. So I really want it to feel chromatic and exciting. So I'm just going to push a little peach in. It's a color that leans towards orange with a lot of radiance. It doesn't tint out to white as much, so it really conveys that strong feeling of the light. Okay, just a little more as we kind of sneak our way up the horizon. Now, I have reference, but I'm really just trying to create something that I enjoy here as well. So we have permission to interpret and express. I just want to know where this sun source is. So I've got a nice, strong, creamy, very soft schminke, light yellow that I can lay this sun in with. And you know, this is a color study. I love these little explorations of color that we can just kind of throw some ideas down and do a quick painting. I'm going to take a step back. Okay, so now I actually need a little more mid-tone mood to soup its way around here. Let's see what we can find. I'm back to my lavender for a moment. Actually, I really want to anchor my darkest dark. So I'm going to come in, so I'm going to push that around just a bit. I'm going to come in and hit this with some really dark over on this left side where the tree is, using a little black for a moment. Over on the right side as well. Going to move into something warm, maybe a rusty, peachy color. let's try to restate that nice value shape of the tree on the right just a bit. I don't want it too dark, but I'd like it to break. I'd like to retain that shape of that tree emerging there. And it's a discipline to continue to force yourself to be suggestive, not to get pulled into all the little details. Of course, it's all about your intention. If you're trying to be loose and suggestive, painting in that way, versus if you really want to pull in and focus on the details. In this case, I want to suggest the mood and atmosphere. All right, so now I'm gonna push. I feel like I need a little orange, believe it or not. You know what I gotta do? I need to check my time to see how I'm doing here. How much time do I have? Okay, good. I'm about halfway through my 30-minute painting demonstration time, so we gotta keep this moving. All right, what I'm gonna do first is let that yellow, I'm just gonna take a brush and kind of let it haze a little bit. Just knock that back. Soak in what you're doing, always important. I'm going to use a pink. Let's let that pink push its way through the sky as well. Anchor it right in this corner, that movement. A little bit more. I'll come under and oh, I gotta grab this dark violet and just push, contain this shape a little bit. Painterly is all about sculpting, pushing and pulling the edges until you arrive at, the shape patterns that work for your scene. I'm just going to take a look here and move down. Let some of those branches make little vertical suggestions. And down on the snow, I would like to build up a little bit more of that mid-tone, as well as that rich middle dark shadowy value. Let's try a little expressive violet just to spice things up. Good. Now I'm going to neutralize again. I'll often go from more chromatic colors to neutrals and just integrate them with one another. This is just a deep, rich gray. Looking for transitioning towards that warm, maybe something a little stronger toward the glow with some orange. Just really squinting my eyes, just try to capture some of that chromatic glow of the sun through the trees just by quietly dragging that orange over it a little bit. like the orange. Clean the fingers real quick. See what's going on here. All right, so I've got another 10 minutes of time available to me. I'm going to take a look and see where I'd like to build up that sense of the snow some more in the foreground. Okay, let me get into some violets that are cool. I think that's going to be too light. Okay, so let's sneak in and push some peachy pink in to the sky and onto the snow. The snow, when it's white, is obviously a big reflective surface, so it's mirroring the color and temperature of the light above it. And then in those shadows, the snow is going cool to the complement side of the light source. So push a little more middle light value into the sky again, just to open it up. I am now squiggling over my side strokes with some nice linear marks. That's it. I'm trying to feel out that really nice passage of dark value tone that moves through this scene and ensure that I'm developing that in my painting. One step darker as I transition away from the lightest areas of the sky. Just love these chunky, soft pastels. It is such a joy to make marks with them. Knock those marks in. Let's push toward this edge out here. What is this? Okay. Playing with this shadow needs to just pull over, just doing a little corrective movement there. Okay, I'm going to go back to my darkest value real quick. Not the black. I want to go back to a really dark purple. I think this one may be darker than the other, but still, yeah, this is it. So real nice rich violet here, and strengthen some of this value mass on the left. Just strengthen that sense of a couple of trunks moving in here and there. Doesn't have to be. This is a little suggestive color study. A little 6x8 painting, lots of excitement. Around this burst of the sun, I want to let that value kind of burn away, not be as dark as it could be. Little suggestion of a couple of barren tree limbs there. Try to run away before I get into too much detail. And just putting this violet dark over some of that black, just to keep the homogeny of the violet color. Love that. Just want to diffuse that bottom edge of the ground. I don't want it to be hard everywhere in a painting like this. I'm just kind of looking and probably just open that a little. I'm just using the back side of my pinky. It's a little magic move that has worked for me over the last 20 years, as long as I don't overwork it, of course. I like this color. This is great. Now, let's move into the orange again. Just love to get that orange to crackle and sparkle around the light source. Now as I move back into the creamy colors, the creamy lights, I've got to have clean hands. Remember that when you go back to your lights, clean those hands up. It's so important. Okay. Just pulling a couple of things out here. In the yellow family, it's just a little bit stronger, very chromatic yellow, like a cadmium yellow here. Just let it wiggle its way over the snow just a little bit. This is an accent color. You don't want to, ice the whole cake with this color. Let's go toward a more neutralized yellow tint. I'm sort of making marks and watching their impact on the scene and kind of assessing how much is too much, what does it need in an area. Let's get that kind of sun on the cloud through there and just push a little darker as we move into this tree zone. That sky hole principle is so important to darken the value as you go into the tree. And maybe I'll take this color that I drew with right at the beginning as I sketched out my shapes and just squiggle a little texture here and there in these last moments. Looking for a transition color on the snow. That's just it's a violet gray that's on the cooler side instead of on the warmer side. So what does that mean? So leaning towards blue instead of leaning towards red. Just to transition with some cooler value. I'm squinting, I'm soaking it in. Even a little painting, we can really hone our powers of suggestion. A little indication over on the right. Maybe pull it. Okay, great. So I'm almost there. This is like maybe one mark. I've got like one mark. Can I make one more mark? I'm just going to take a look, see what's going on. I'm a big fan of like hot pink, so I'm always looking for a way to use it. Do I have one though? Okay. A little bit there. A couple in the clouds maybe. Just trying to get a little action over here on the right side of the painting. All right, I got my pink fix. I think I'm okay. Awesome. Clean those fingers. Little 30-minute or less painting. So much fun. I'm going to dry my hands here. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. It's all about, just harnessing the powers of suggestion and developing that painterly approach. So that was really great. I hope you enjoyed it with me. I'm sure I'm going to find out in the chat box whether I did a good job or a bad job or somewhere in between. But hey, we're all in this thing together. It's live and it's a joy to paint. And I just wanted to encourage you with some color in this February day. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to jump in and do some live Q&A. I wanted to just let you know, if you don't already, that enrollment's open in my online course, The Painterly Landscape. And here's the deal. We already have a wonderful group of people who've enrolled from all over the world, honestly. I mean, people have enrolled from New Zealand to Malaysia and Japan, as well as all over the United States, in Canada, the UK, Germany. I'm not going to remember all the places right now, but so exciting. And it's really a wonderful transformational journey where we go through 7 milestones together, and it's literally step by step designed for transformation toward bolder, looser landscapes in pastel. I mean, this is not the course for hyperrealism. This is really if you're trying to figure out, how do I get that more expressive approach? How do I move towards that more suggestive, painterly style? How do I get color to really freshen up in my work? This is the course for you if that's the case. So I want to be able to take some of your questions, but what I'll do now is just walk you through a couple of things about the Painterly Landscape course. You know, if you were to go on this journey, by the end of the course, here's what you would have. You would have absolute confidence in your materials and mark-making strategies to create loose painterly landscapes. You'd also have clarity of direction with a step-by-step plan and specific techniques that'll drive you toward your destination, which is a beautiful, fresh painting, of course. You'd also have color strategies and methods to ensure that your landscapes are looking bold and vibrant. I love color, and there's so much here to please in that category. Finally, you'd have checklists and concepts to keep your paintings looking fresh and to avoid overworking. So often with my students all over the world in workshops, they feel like they don't know when to stop and maybe they overwork. And how do I get that freshness? Well, I'll address that head on. You may be wondering about, what's in these 7 milestones. So I just wanted to give you a glimpse. These are the 7 milestones inside the Painterly Landscape online course. First is called the Journey Ahead. It's all about the painterly style, definitions of what that actually means, a tour through art history, and then we go to milestone 2, explore new territory, where you learn about everything from your materials and methods in your palette setup, paper, pastels, reference materials, studio setup, all with an end toward cultivating a painterly style in your work. And of course, mark-making strategies to do that. Milestone 3 is clarify your direction. And in this, you're going to learn that secret weapon for better painting. How do you create a visual plan so that your work drives forward with intention and clarity? Milestone 4 is called break free with color. This is so much fun. It's freedom, liberty, color studies. We're jumping into the deep end, having a blast with color in milestone 4. And then in milestone 5, we're going to activate our scene. We're going to learn about both a history of underpainting methods as well as new innovative underpainting strategies and techniques that will activate your painting. And of course, milestone 6, this is the whole enchilada, the Painterly Roadmap, my 7-step plan to take your work from design all the way to a beautiful destination. Very clear, mapped out for you in the roadmap. And then milestone 7, here it is. If you're wondering how to refine your painting without overworking, don't miss your exit, is where you're going to learn a visual dashboard that will help you to steer that painting towards a beautiful destination. And just really quick, the Painterly Landscape course comes with 3 powerful bonuses. Number 1, it's called Practice Makes Painterly. It's a 6 different painterly exercises to cultivate in your work. It's an amazing PDF download that comes along with the course. It's not a milestone. It could have been a milestone unto itself. I made it into a special bonus for those who enroll. Bonus number 2 is a private members-only Facebook group for 10 full weeks of community and accountability. This is where that safe, encouraging, peer-to-peer feedback, encouragement, and guidance happens. And I jump into the private Facebook group constantly and provide some feedback. And it's just a wonderful place. We make sure we cultivate a spirit of camaraderie there, that it's a wonderful place to be. Now, bonus number 3 is every week during the course, as milestones are released, I show up and do a live Q&A session for the students of the course. So what that means is they send in their questions, I show up live for a good hour, and we expound on what's going on in that week's course material. We troubleshoot, we clarify, and it's literally tailored to the student's needs. It's a powerful extra bonus in addition to the entire transformational Painterly Landscape course. One thing that you need to know, because it's Wednesday, February 26th, I believe, and today, people that enroll by 11:59 p.m. will get this special bonus that's called How to Design Award-Winning Compositions. I'm constantly asked by students how to take their compositions to the next level. This addresses that need, and it's yours if you enroll by midnight today. Tomorrow, I'm sorry, it will be gone. I'm a man of my word. I do want to say this. When you jump into this course, and here's an example of me painting inside one of the lessons, and you get lifetime access to this course. So anyone who enrolls gets lifetime access to this course. It will be available to you forever. All the future updates I make, all future students who come will all have lifetime access. And that's a big deal, because you may feel like, you want to work at your own pace and you don't want to miss things when the milestones are released. Well, you have lifetime access, so you don't have to worry about a thing. It's beautifully shot, and it is elegantly portrayed in a very easy to use course platform. One other thing that we do inside the Painterly Landscape course is provide over 70 pages of PDFs that support what we're learning. You'll get a great course schedule, but every single milestone all the way through, you'll get cheat sheets and checklists and guides and all this great stuff. You can use them on your tablet or your device, or you can print them out and make a nice booklet out of them. A lot of students like to do that. And some of the special checklists, they like to post them up in their studios to remind them of these painterly ways. Okay, real quick, these are a few of our alumni who have expressed their feelings about the Painterly Landscape course. Jan said, I wish I had this course when I first started painting in pastels, because I would have developed better habits. This is the best workshop I've ever taken, and well worth the money. I was really humbled by that testimonial. Kathy said, this is truly the most extensive online workshop I've ever taken, and I've attended a lot of workshops and seminars, believe me. I dearly needed this exact course at this exact time to fuel my creativity. It brought me so much joy. And then Sandy said, I gave this course to myself as my birthday gift, and it went beyond all my expectations. I feel more confident, excited, inspired, and motivated to keep practicing the milestones over and over again. I love those stories, and I just share them with you. Now, if you're interested in this course, all you need to do is head over to picardstudio.com/join. But my wife's going to throw a direct link into the chat box. You can just click the link that she throws in there in any moment, and that'll take you right over. So you can learn more, find out all about it. The Painterly Landscape online course, I'm just really excited to share it with you. But I would love to be able to answer any of your questions. So that's what I'm here to do. And I'm gonna have my wife feed me some of your questions on my phone so I can answer them for you. And I'm not in a rush. I hope you're not either. I'd love to be able to provide clarity in any way for you about the course. As I'm waiting on some of the questions, what I'll do is just let you know too, when students enroll in the course, the first thing that happens is they get right inside of the website, this whole course website, and they can watch the welcome video, find their way around, they can go into the resources and find out the supply list and download that Practice Makes Painterly bonus and get right to work on that. And then on March 2nd, which is just a few days away, students are going to get invited into that private members only Facebook group. Get to know each other and start connecting and sharing online there. And then on March 19th, that's where the first milestones are released. And we actually release milestone 1 and 2 on the same day. We love to kick you off with a good burst of energy. And from there, we launch milestones every Thursday. So we actually walk through the course curriculum together. But of course, you can work at your own pace, and you can also go into the website and get any content anytime you want as soon as those milestones are released. Okay? Here we go. Birgit Bloom. Hi, Birgit. Is this a color study or a finished painting? Okay, that's a great question. So this painting right here, it's a 6x8. This is a color study. This is absolutely a color study. It's a 30-minute or less painting. I love doing these little, loose, fresh studies because you can learn so much. And they also give you permission to play, to take some risks that you might otherwise not allow yourself if you were working big. And I have found that these smaller color studies that I would think mentally, oh, it's unfinished. Oh, I'm going to do it much more realistic in the bigger one. I'll tell you, a couple things happened. Number one, I started falling in love with them. And number two, I get these comments from people like, oh, I love the little one. I'd be offended, right? Because they'd like my little 6x8 color study better than my more realistic, big, 12 by whatever, 18 color study. So, finished painting rather. So this is a color study. I just wanted to share a really fun, expressive piece like that with you all in this YouTube Live. Okay, what is the price for alumni? Is that real? Okay, so if you're an alumni of the Painterly Landscape course, you already have it. You're in. You have lifetime access to the course. So you can go in right now and look at all the milestones, and everything is there for you, okay? So I just wanted to remind you of that. You have lifetime access. Lindy says, are you using soft or hard pastels, and what is the difference between them? Are pastel pencils good to use? That's a great question, Lindy. So in this case, the only hard pastel that I used was this one. This is a new pastel. It's, I think, called Cordovan, and I used it to do some sketching, but that's really it. And then at the end, I squiggled a little. I don't even know if that was necessary, but I did it. Everything else was a soft pastel, and in many cases, a very soft pastel. So the difference really has to do with the amount of binder that is put in the pastel. So harder pastels have more of these binders placed into them. And so there's less pigment typically. However, there are still some very high quality hard pastels. Now the soft pastels are like pure pigment, just a very little bit of binder, something to hold them together. And you get this glorious, beautiful, soft, richly pigmented experience. So it's very impasto, very loose, a little bit mushy at times. So if you need more control, you want to use those medium and hard pastels. So the harder pastels are a lot denser, and they don't create that kind of, loose, chunky, thick impasto stroke. Okay, so that's what the difference is there. And this is pretty much 99.9% soft pastel. There are some variances in the different brands, of course, in terms of how they feel. Some are a little grittier, some are a little creamier. But I talk a lot about that. I have a video on YouTube called What Pastels Should I Use? And Lindy, you should watch that video. That would really help you. Okay, I hope that one helped. Any other questions that you have for me here on this Wednesday afternoon? I'm happy to answer. I often get questions from folks who know that they're going to have a crazy schedule this spring, and they wonder, oh, I'm going to be away for a couple weeks here. Will I get behind in the course? And the course runs really from March 19th through to late April as those milestones are released. And the private Facebook community is open for 10 full weeks of community and accountability. And basically, I want to let you know that if you're going away and you're not sure about your schedule, don't worry. You can go at your own pace. You can also log in from anywhere. So the course works on your phone, on your tablet or iPad, iOS or Android work really great. It works on a laptop, works on a desktop. So all you need is internet access. There's no DVDs, no physical. It's all streaming. So you can access from wherever you are, as long as you have that login and password that you receive when you get welcomed into the course. You can get in from anywhere. And of course, you can catch up at any time when you get back. Okay, but you can jump in that private Facebook group, see what your peers are doing, encourage them on some of the work that you're seeing, and then catch up when you get back. Okay, here's another question. Paul. Hi, Paul. That looks awesome. There's so much depth in it. I really want to try using pastels. Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I tell you, I've painted in oils for years and years. Watercolor. Acrylics is probably what I've used the less. When I used to illustrate out of college, I used some mixed media with acrylic. But I tell you, pastel has won my heart. And it just, the freshness, the softness, the ability to be both bold and very sensitive, the purity of color and the intimacy of the medium in that it's so direct. You pick it up, it's a bridge between, you know, drawing and painting, but it can be very painterly, or you can actually sketch with it. Lots of fun in that regard, and I'm glad that you can experience the depth. That's really I think the depth is created when we create a lot of transition of edges, so the soft and lost edges versus those sharper edges, as well as we create more neutral passages of color and more chromatic areas. And then lastly, those contrasting moments versus the more limited contrast moments. All those devices create a sense of depth. Foreground, middle ground, background is conveyed through that. So thanks, Paul. Creative Studio, what paper did you use? Is that pastel card? So I said right at the beginning, and I'll repeat, it's UArt Premium Sanded Paper, 400 grit, mounted to Gator board. So it's a nice little board, very durable. UArt sells their papers pre-mounted. You can buy premium mounted boards. They're fantastic. Or you can buy the paper and you can mount it yourself. I have a video on YouTube on how you can mount it yourself if you so desire. Go check it out. So UArt 400 grit is what we worked on there. And Birgit with a follow-up question. So do you do a thumbnail, value sketch, and a color study for every painting? Great question. You're very perceptive. Okay. I'll be 46 years old in April. So I'm 45 here. I've been painting for about 22 years. And here's what I've learned at this point. Doing a thumbnail is the smartest thing I can do. And so I would say to you, yes, I thumbnail every single painting that I do because it gives me clarity on the composition and the shapes and the values. So you better believe it. However, on the color study, here's the deal. I have fallen in love with them. So if I'm going to invest any measure of time in a painting, I'm going to do a color study because that took me a half an hour to figure out whether I liked that color palette or I didn't like it or whether I wanted to make some change. And you learn so fast. So doing lots of small paintings, you can learn so quickly. So I would say to you, I probably don't do it in every painting, but I do it darn close. And certainly when I'm plein air painting, I'm just responding to the moment, in the moment. And those are essentially like studies unto themselves. So I hope that answer helps. We're going to do a lot of color studies inside the course because it's powerful. You have no idea what kind of transformational growth you can experience through doing a number of these color studies. Here's another one. Alain, do you use the same technique with different papers? Velour versus UArt? That's a great question. Actually, I have found that papers will require of me unique nuances of technique. So I worked for years on Canson, my tent, however you say that, my tent papers, the laid paper. And I learned how to get a beautiful effect on Canson. Did my demonstrations for years on them. But then I wanted more with this kind of building up and these washes and everything, and you can't do those techniques on CanSign because it's a dry paper, it's a toned paper. So you have to work dry there, and it only takes a few layers of pastel. So that's another consideration. Now I used to work on Le Carte, Sennelier Le Carte. I shouldn't even say used to. I worked on that paper almost exclusively as my sanded surface for years. Excuse me. And again, it's a dry surface. It's a vegetable grind. It's a beautiful surface, and you can get gorgeous results. But it was more of a dry approach. As I moved into the UArt, and there was a paper called Wallace I used for years. Now I really use UArt instead. All this washing techniques became available. Now, of course, there are other papers that you can do those techniques on as well. Pastel Premier, for instance, that wonderful Clairefontaine product, Pastel Matte, which is like the miracle paper, okay? It feels smooth, but it takes layers of pastel, and you can wash on it, so the Pastel Matte's great. But I really encourage the papers, certainly for this course, I encourage papers that can receive washes, because we're gonna go crazy. We're gonna activate our scene, we're gonna do all kinds of techniques where we're going to use alcohol or mineral spirit or water or things to wash with, as well as those dry techniques and mark making strategies. I hope that helps. Thanks. All right. Let me check here, see if I got some new action. There it is. Do you recommend Terry Ludwig pastels for complete beginners, or shall we stick with other brands? Good question. So Terry Ludwig pastels are beautiful, and they are really a premier pastel. They're a professional quality product, high level of pigment, very soft, excellent product. You're going to pay for it. So my answer to you is this. If you can afford some Terry Ludwig pastels, you will not regret owning them. However, if you want to try some soft pastel painting before you invest more, I do recommend some very soft or soft pastels that are good quality and fairly affordable. And certainly the Sennelier half stick sets fall into that category. They sell some half stick sets of colors at really great prices, and you can grab a nice set there and get a bunch of colors for, you know, just a little over $100, which is amazing. You know, if you bought a big set of Terry Ludwigs, they're $4.75 a piece or something in that ballpark per stick. So, you know, you're going to pay for it. So my recommendation would be try out pastel, maybe try a set like the Sennelier, and then add in some Ludwig. And I make some recommendations about what I would buy first. You saw that beautiful dark violet, that really beautiful eggplant. That's a Terry Ludwig dark. It's gorgeous. And you can get that in their Intense Darks 2 set, which I am a big fan of and recommend highly. It's 30 pieces of very dark colors. Okay? Hope that helps. Thank you, Alain, for a fantastic demo. Oh, you're very welcome. You know what? I appreciate that. I'm always a little nervous. I think I'm going to bomb right in front of the entire world on YouTube. Imagine. But then I remember, actually, this is a joyful process, and we're all in this thing together. So it's nice for you to say that. I appreciate it. How do you choose your colors? Is there a process you use, or is it something more intuitive when you look at the reference, or both? Thank you from the UK. You're very welcome. And color is such a wonderful topic, and the question you've asked me, I could spend the next 30 minutes expounding on, because I think that at this point in my career, I'm making some intuitive choices that are based on color theory and a lot of experience. In the course, I teach very simply what you can do with certain colors and why, and how you can grow in your understanding of how to create that. Now, I based this painting on a simple color theory of yellow, violet. purple, yellow, complementary color. It's gonna look good, right? So I actually took my reference. I was responding to that yellow in the sun. I loved that yellow in the sun, and I was definitely seeing some violets down in the snow, but there was like blue in the sky. Not that I don't like the blue. It's beautiful, but it's it's a light blue, and there was some just other colors in between. And I thought, well, let me pull those into this yellow violet world. And I definitely took liberties with orange, because how can you not? I don't know. I just took liberties with orange. All the sunsets I've painted over the years have told me that it's a really nice chromatic color. So intuition combined with color theory. I use the color wheel quite a lot. I think painting alongside the color wheel is an excellent way to learn some color strategies that are going to work for you. And I use the language of warm and cool color, and I explain that at great length. So there's a reason why a color is warm or a color is cool. There are poles of the color wheel. There are warm hues like yellows and reds, and there are cools like blues. Okay, so the answer to your question is yes and yes, kind of, intuition and a knowledge of color that we apply and we learn and we grow. And then here's the X factor. I happen to love violets. You're going to love certain colors. You're going to see the world in a certain way. And as you paint a lot and do a lot of these color studies, you're going to gravitate towards certain color families and approaches. And that's going to become a part of your unique creative voice. And that's beautiful. So it's also being aware of what you love and what you're drawn to in terms of a color family, and allowing yourself to move in that direction. Typically away from total realism of the photograph. Suggestion over copy. Okay? I hope that helped. Here we go. Mikey 3, have you ever used a coffee wash underpainting? Is it archival? Oh, wow, that's interesting. So I don't think so. I don't think I've washed with coffee, but because it's a bean, I mean, it's probably archival. So I wash with, so when you saw the violet on the board, I had used, I think it was this one. I took this soft pastel. You can use a hard pastel or whatever pastel, but I took this pastel and I just dragged a few lines down on the board. And then I took alcohol, 91% alcohol, and a brush, this kind of brush, and I just washed it over the whole board to make it violet. Now, I could have done that in a coffee color, in a red. I could have done it in orange. I could have done it in yellow. I could have done it with watercolor paint. I could have done it with acrylic inks. Lots of options here. That's the fun of it, but that's how that happened. So I hope that answers your question. All right, I'm all caught up. I'm ready. I'm ready for more. What do you got? So always fun to do these live Q&As. We've just got a couple more questions on this live Q&A. Stephanie Cook, hi Stephanie. Do you ever use these color studies as underpaintings with more local color on top? Good question. So, so the answer to that is kind of. So the color study right now, like one of the disciplines for me with a color study like this is to try to do it in 30 minutes and be done, right? So I wouldn't say that, I go back into this and put another 30 minutes in on it and add local color. However, I might try a color study where I know I want to bring some local color. And for any of you who don't know what that means, that's the actual color of the scene that's observed in nature. And I might try some, say, a violet underpainting or a pink and violet underpainting, and then bring in some more of the local colors to anchor some of the scene in an observed natural color scheme. Absolutely, I've tried that, but I want to have some of those more interesting colors sparkle through. However, color studies, do those little ones. I might do 2 or 3 and try things out. Maybe a more local color, a really fun complementary something else, okay? So that's my answer there. Zahur John or Jan. Hi Zahur. Sir, my question is that glass is necessary for pastel painting or not? Okay, great question, Zahur. And the answer is yes. Glass is necessary for framing your pastel because this is pure pigment. Now, we are in a really exciting time in history with the development of the medium of pastel. There are some really great products on the market in terms of both the sanded papers that hold the pastel very well and fixatives, even natural milk-based fixatives. Art Spectrum makes something called Spectra Fix that you can paint a layer, fix it, paint another layer, fix it, paint another layer. And actually they're releasing some new products where they are imagining a way to fix your work so that it won't require glass. At this point and in this style, you have to have glass on the painting to finish it. And I use museum glass so you don't see it. Or if you can't afford museum glass because it's quite expensive. I'm a professional artist. I've got to have that stuff really archival and good quality, or anti-reflective glass, but you do need glass. Okay, thank you for that question. So I'm really excited that you've joined me today. This was a great live. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you did, because we'll do more live demos and Q&As like this if it's something that you enjoy. Again, if you want to know about the course, go over to picardstudio.com/join, or just click that link in the chat box. It's been such a joy to have you here today, and I'm so glad that you chose to tune in. So again, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Paint something beautiful today. And I just can't wait to see you again in the next video. Take care, friends. And I'm going to attempt to sign off over here. Okay? Have a great day.